Good morning, and welcome to Redeemer Lutheran Church in Columbia, South Carolina, where we're part of the ELCA. I'm Pastor Gary Lodeholt. When I was serving a church in the beach area, we had the problems every church dreams of: not enough seats and not enough parking. Eventually, we decided to build a new sanctuary to relieve the problems. It was quite the journey with lots of easy roads and dead ends, and finally just about everything had worked out with one exception. We didn't know what to do with our old pews. We were giving them away, but we couldn't find anyone who wanted them. Finally, with a deadline approaching for the pews to be out so the old sanctuary could be converted into our new fellowship hall, we still had the pews. One hot summer day, the chair of the council arrived to look at the ongoing work, and that day there happened to be only one man working, and he was mudding drywall. They greeted one another, and just out of the blue the council chair said, "Say, you wouldn't know anyone who would like to have our pews, would you?" The man stopped his work and said, "I'm a pastor of a church, and we'd love to have your pews." That's exactly how things worked out. I love it when a plan comes together, particularly when it is God's plan. This week of our Thanksgiving holiday, we are looking at Bible stories of people giving God thanks and praise. We are looking beyond the 10 lepers to see some of the other, less noticed times when people gave thanks to God. Today we want to hear about Abraham's servant who gave thanks for God's guidance. Just like with our pews, it all worked out just the way it was supposed to. Actually, we talked about this servant a little over a month ago during our week about marriage in the Bible. In those days, the thing to do was to marry a distant relative, and in that way it was thought that you kept your bloodline pure. So when it was time for Isaac to marry, Abraham had a problem. Having gone to Canaan, there were no relatives anywhere around. So Abraham sent a servant back to his relatives in Haran, where he had come from, in order to find a wife for Isaac. It was a long journey for that servant, full of easy roads and dead ends, and finally he reached the area he'd been aiming for. Exhausted, he plopped down by a well and began to pray. As Genesis 24 tells it, he said, "O Lord God of my master Abraham, please grant me success today and show steadfast love to my master Abraham. I am standing here by the spring of water, and the daughters of the townspeople are coming out to draw water. Let the young woman to whom I shall say, 'Please offer your jar that I may drink,' and who shall say, 'Drink, and I will water your camels,' let her be the one whom you have appointed for your servant Isaac. By this I shall know that you have shown steadfast love to my master." The next line in the text says, "Before he had finished speaking." Before he had finished his prayer, a woman named Rebekah was there, and she quickly offered him a drink of water from the spring and offered to water his camels. While all this is going on, the servant can't help but notice that Rebekah was beautiful. When the camels had finished drinking, the servant gave Rebekah a gold ring for her nose, high fashion in those days, and asked if her father had room for an overnight guest. She quickly agreed, even saying that they had plenty of straw for his animals as well. Most importantly, by that time, the servant had learned that Rebekah was kin to Abraham, just the family he was looking for. I love it when a plan comes together, particularly when it's God's plan. That's when the servant offered praise and thanks to God. Genesis continues, The man bowed his head and worshipped the Lord and said, Blessed be the Lord, the God of my master Abraham, who has not forsaken his steadfast love and his faithfulness toward my master. As for me, the Lord has led me on the way to the house of my master's kin. Long story short, it all worked out, and Rebekah went back with the servant and married Isaac. However, let's not overlook God's part in the success of the servant's mission. The servant prayed for specific guidance, and when God answers, he immediately saw God's hand in it and bows in worship, praise, and thanksgiving. I sometimes wonder if we do that enough. This story might have much to teach us about being thankful even in our daily tasks. This story might guide us in seeing God's hand involved in our lives more than we might ever have imagined. And this story might invite us to pause and thank God even after small but significant successes in our lives. We can practice immediate gratitude. We can and should notice when God opens doors in our lives and responds with thanks and respond with thanks and praise. I love it when a plan comes together, particularly when it's God's plan. Thanks for watching, and remember to let this day belong to God.